problem. It's Pittsburgh. Safety Terrell Edmonds, cornerback Akilo Witherspoon, cornerback Cam Sutton, defensive tackle Larry Guanabi. These are key injuries for Pittsburgh. And then, of course, the Steelers, who just had the Bills. Now they have Tampa. Then they have Miami and Philly before the bye week. Kenny Pickett knows what's coming. One game at a time, and it doesn't get easier. That is correct. That said, we're going to see money come against Pittsburgh this week. We've already seen some. We may well see more. If you like Tampa, I bet them sooner rather than later.
Teddy, next game up, 253, 254, Cincinnati and New Orleans, 1 o'clock Eastern kick here. Near a, competitively priced game, -1.5, -2 now. That's Cincinnati as the road favorite. So up from our graphic there, looks like a flip favorite, Teddy. 43.5 or 44 being the total as we're talking now. What are we thinking in the Big Easy?
Well, if I'm going to emergency line alert for anything today, this one really stands out. So, Dan, let's cue up that emergency betting alert for Cincinnati and New Orleans. So good. I didn't even give them any warning. I'm throwing them out there when they come up. All right. So look ahead line here was Pick'em and 44. My powering number has the Bengals 3. The markets opened 1 last night. They're already up to 2 in a lot of places today. Cincy is taking the money in this ball game. They may well take more money if you like the Bengals. I bet them sooner rather than later, even though they are the 31st ranked offense in the NFL in yards per play, and they're playing a New Orleans team that just scored, what did they get, to 38, 39 yesterday? That said, from a defensive standpoint, the Bengals have been real good. Cincinnati, not so much. And, of course, New Orleans has injuries everywhere. Look, their top 3 receivers are all hurt. No Thomas, no Landry. Olave got a concussion. He was out yesterday. They've had penalties all year, number 2 in penalties in the defense got lit up in that ball game, allowed 6 plays of 30 yards or more against Seattle. Bad injury game in that contest. And, of course, they were able to escape Marshawn Lattimore, another guy who got hurt in that ball game. They were able to escape because Taysom Hill made some huge plays in that contest, including a 60-yard touchdown run and the 2-point conversion at the end of the ball game, which made all the difference. We know, here's Hill's quote, "We know that we have a talented roster. We just made some silly mistakes that caused us to lose some football games. This was a game where everybody was playing really well. We were doing the right things." New Orleans coming off a win. Cincy coming off a loss. The money's coming for the Bengals. The Bengals have the better defense. I expect if this line moves from where it is now, it will be towards Cincinnati. So if you like the Bengals, bet that sooner, not later.
Next one up, we're heading to Indy, 255, 256, 1 o'clock Eastern kick. Jacksonville at Indianapolis, 42 being the total. We're seeing the Colts -1.5, -2-point home favorites here, Teddy. Interesting handicap, man. Of course, earlier in the season, Jacksonville kind of manhandled them at home. Now going up and they're catching points. Interested in your take here. What do we think of Jacksonville, Indy?
Look headline was Pick'em 43.5. My powering number, and maybe I over-adjusted here, but I had to downgrade Jacksonville. But my powering number was Indy 3 for the ball game. And the markets opened 1.5, and they've been sitting 1.5. Now there's mostly 2s out there, but I'm not seeing that driver off of the 2 yet. I'm not convinced it's going to go a whole lot further. I mean, of all the teams in the NFL yesterday, and you don't like the one that you're most surprised by any of them on your freaking big ticket, I could not believe what I saw from Jacksonville yesterday. I was on one side of the football. The defense was fine. The Jags defense is solid. Of course, the defense made the boneheaded penalty at the end of the game that cost them with the on a week where they're watching every hit on every quarterback. There was a dicey hit that turned a 3rd and 20 incomplete into a first down and allowed Houston to end up getting the game-winning touchdown. But, I mean, the offense was awful yesterday. They had 4 50-yard drives in the first half and came away with 2 field goals, and only got 2 field goals because one of them, a turnover, got overturned on replay. It should have only been 1 field goal. It wasn't like Houston played anything you haven't seen before. It's a cover 2, all right? And the game plan for Jacksonville against a cover 2 was stunningly bad. Cover 2, what do? You throw the ball over the middle, you take your checkdowns. What did Lawrence do? They kept on trying to throw deep, and it kept on failing. The offensive line didn't push the pile. It was bad for Jacksonville. 0-3 in the red zone, terrible interception in the red zone, -2 turnovers. And now this is Lawrence coming off a 5-turnover game at Philly and backing that up with an equally awful game. Yeah, I downgraded Jacksonville pretty significantly off of that. Trevor Lawrence. It hurts. It's frustrating, but we're going to get better. We can't panic. We're a good football team. We believe in it. We just got to play like it. We didn't play like 1 to 8. We played bad. Yeah, no, you did. The Jags forced 8 turnovers the first 3 weeks. They've forced 1 in the last 2 ball games. The defense, like the offense, not necessarily getting the job done. For Indy, I mean, Indy still has all kinds of offensive line issues. They just played a game that features 7 field goals, 12 punts, 25 third down stops, 4 interceptions, and 6 fumbles. None of which were recovered by the defenses. Matt Ryan has been sacked 21 times this season. He's fumbled 10 times this season. He threw another 2 picks last week, and they still found a way to win the game. Maybe this is the Jags' bounce back spot. I'm not convinced that they're as bad as they looked offensively against Houston, but from a team that, here's your spot, and Houston had beaten them 8 straight times, they're not better than them this year. And for the Jags to come out and play as flat as they did, and as poorly as they did offensively, they were a team that merited, in my mind, a significant power rating adjustment. My number's off the market number on this one as a result. That's why my number is Indy -3. But when I make a big bet on a team and they no-show on one side of the football and a spot and mentally no-show, it was, I won't be betting the Jags games this week. Let's put it this way. They're a team that I thought was better than they were, and maybe they're still good. And the last 2 games have been aberrations, but I'm not going to get on the wrong side of Jacksonville this week.
Yeah, head-scratching result for sure. Also want to give a shout-out to the chat box. We got Roger, Abby, Raven, Ron, Priest, all of you guys coming in, me, and a bunch of you letting us know the start to the show on the YouTube page did have some glitches. We hear you, and we are going to circle back to the top at the end to hit the first 2 games. So Teddy, we are going live right now on the YouTube channel here on Wager Talk. So in case you missed it, welcome into the NFL opening line report. And we got a couple games in the books. We're going to head down here in rotation order, 257, 258. Next game up, New England and Cleveland, Teddy. 42.5 being the total, -3. That's the Browns at home. Teddy, Brady Zappi, he's throwing it around, man. Patriots, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, Bailey Zappi at home versus Detroit's defense versus Bailey Zappi on the road versus Cleveland's defense, although Cleveland's defense isn't any good right now. We'll see. Nonetheless, look headline, Cleveland -3.5, total 41.5. My powering number's lower. It's only 1.5 for this ball game. The markets moved. Basically, they locked in on 3 this morning. Some books had 2.5 last night, but we're sitting at 3 right now. I do not anticipate this number moving off of 3, barring any significant information. Remember, New England went 0 for 4 in the red zone with Zappi yesterday and still won 29-0. Of course, they only had 4 incomplete passes in the ballgame and outgained Detroit 6.5 yards per play to 4.9 with the Patriots' defense against that banged-up Lions offense. That was the difference maker in the ballgame. But, the running game was efficient. The passing game was efficient. That's Bill Belichick football. And Belichick, you want to talk about a coach you want your money on in the month of October, Belichick at or near the top of the list. The Browns found a way to lose yesterday's game. I mean, I watched the game. I still can't figure out how they lost. Well, they lost it because Cade York kept missing field goals, and he did 8 of 8 since that key missed extra point in the loss versus the Jets. But he missed a pair yesterday, including the potential game winner at the end. And then Brissett threw the unconscionable interception in the end zone. They're down too late. It's 3rd down. If your guy's not open, throw it away and kick the field goal. And, of course, Cleveland's having all kinds of issues on defense right now. They got Myles Garrett back in the lineup yesterday, Javon Clowney as well, and it didn't matter. Denzel Ward had a concussion. He was placed in protocol. Here's a quote from Greg Newsome, the cornerback. "It's definitely frustrating. We know what talent we have in the building. We're just not showing it every play on Sunday. It's all about being consistent. In theory, it's supposed to be a Cleveland step-up game. But I think New England might be the better of these 2 teams, even though the Browns can run the football. It's worth noting, Jacoby Brissett, 3 interceptions this season. All 3 of them have come at the worst possible time, the final 3 minutes of the 4th quarter.
Teddy, next game up, New York Jets, Green Bay Packers heading to Lambeau here. We get the Packers -7. Actually, one shop DraftKings going to 7.5 here. That's the Packers as the home favorite. 45.5, 46 being the total. Of course, the Packers making the trip back from London, hosting the New York Jets. Looked pretty good yesterday. What are we thinking here? Jets and Packers, Teddy.
Yeah, we missed this one in terms of an emergency betting alert because the line's already been popped. Green Bay was 9.5 on the look aheads. My powering number said 7. The market said 7.5 last night. And basically, it's down to 7 at most books this morning. There are a couple of 7.5 still out there. They're not going to be there, but there aren't really enough for me to say go grab it. There's not enough to say emergency betting alert. You got to have it at more than 1 or 2 books, and that's all I'm seeing with the 7.5 right now. So the money has come for the Jets. And of course, the Jets are 3-2 right now. First time since 2017 they had a winning season. First time they led a game wire to wire yesterday, but not trailed at any point in the ballgame in like the last 3 years. First win against a division team since 2019. Zach Wilson, quote, "The expectation is changing. We're expecting to come in here and win and be shocked when they don't." That's how the mindset needs to be for everybody. Breece Hall had a monster game yesterday. We're not the old Jets. We're the Jets now. And we're definitely trending towards becoming a winning team. All right. Well, the Packs found a way to lose a game again that they should have won yesterday in London. They took a big lead and kind of fell asleep away from home. Aaron Rodgers couldn't get the deep passing game going. 0 of 5 on attempts of 20 yards or more in the game. And that's all they tried to do in the second half. It was all throwing downfield instead of dinking and dunking. That was actually working. And, of course, this is a Green Bay defense that we came to the season always talking about how, wow, the Packers are right there. The Packers defense is vastly improved. Packers defense got destroyed by Justin Jefferson in week 1. All right. They got bombed 2 weeks ago against the Giants, back-to-back 3-and-outs to start the game for the G-Men, and the Giants offense scored on 5 consecutive possessions. Green Bay's defense has been downgraded. The market's adjusting as a result.
And Teddy, just real quick, do you factor in the travel back from London or the week before London into your handicap at all?
Well, let's look at what happened with the teams that played in London the previous week. New Orleans and Minnesota, they came home and were fine.
Yeah.
It's a road trip. It's a flight. So I don't want to overreact to it. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Certainly, when teams have made the decision, they have a choice. Do we want our bye week coming back from London, or do we want our bye week a little bit later? And when the teams have made the choice, hey, we're going to take our bye week later, they're telling you something. They think they can handle it. It's a factor, but it's not a significant factor for me.
Like it, Teddy. We got next game up here, moving down the list. 261, 262, 1 o'clock Eastern kick. Baltimore and New York. That's the Giants. We're seeing the Ravens -5 at most shops now, Teddy, as the road favorite. 44 being the total. Speaking of London, Giants making the trip back. They also look pretty good, surprising the Packers. Interested in your take here in New York, Teddy.
Look ahead line here. Baltimore -6, 43.5. My powering number is only Baltimore -4. The Ravens are really banged up, and I know that they were able to make stops yesterday when it mattered against Cincinnati. I know they were able to drive down the field and kick the game-winning field goal in that contest. But, this is a team that's been blowing leads. They blew a 21-point lead at home. They blew a 17-point lead at home. And they blew the 10-point lead at home again last night. So that's 3 double-digit blown leads for Baltimore. And that's definitely a concern here against the Giants defense. But how about this quote from Danny Jones? Quote, "We were aware that we were underdogs in the game." You realize that, but I think we're a motivated group. We're motivated to play for each other. And, of course, it's a Giants team that all their top receivers were out yesterday. Tony was out. Galladay was out. Robinson was out. Shepard was out. That's the top 4 receivers. Saquon Barkley got hurt during the game. And they were playing with Marcus Johnson, Darius Slayton, David Stills, and Richie James as their receiving core yesterday and scored on 5 consecutive drives against Green Bay. So clearly they found some rhythm offensively. That Giants offense has been hit or miss this season. It's been more miss than hit. That has to be a concern here against a Baltimore team that, while they didn't cover the number last night, still found a way to win the ballgame.
He's Teddy Coverts. I'm Drew Martin. This is the NFL opening line report, making our way down rotation order using the Wager Talk live odds screen, get you on the right side of some of these games. We're going down the list. We'll also hit the top 2 or 3 games, which we missed with the glitch starting the show today. We apologize about that, but if you're liking the content, please smash the like button. Feel free to reply below, guys. Any questions, where you agree, where you disagree, what you're looking to bet, all is welcome in the reply section below. On the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We got Minnesota and Miami up next here, Teddy. 263, 264 the rotation. We're now seeing the Vikings minus 3-point favorites on the road. 45.5 being the total. Vikings at Dolphins and Miami Gardens here, Teddy.
Look ahead line was Pick'em, bet up to Miami -1, 46.5. My powering number, and again, I don't know that I power rate Skylar Thompson appropriately because it may well be Thompson this week. But my powering number has Minnesota -1 with Thompson, Miami -3 with Tua, and I didn't make a number for Bridgewater, somewhere in between the two. So obviously, when we're seeing this line here, the market is saying it's going to be Skylar Thompson, and I probably didn't downgrade enough for Thompson. Thompson was not good. Let's say most things third-string quarterbacks aren't. Bailey Zappi, the exception rather than the rule, and they designed a game plan for him with a coach who's real good at designing game plans for inexperienced quarterbacks. Mike McDaniel didn't necessarily have that benefit. The game plan wasn't designed for him. It was designed for Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater got hurt on the first play of the game, and it got ugly early for Miami. But certainly Miami off back-to-back losses. In theory, it's supposed to be a get-right spot for them at home against, what do you do with Minnesota yesterday, Kirk Cousins was great at times. Dominated. He was 17 consecutive completions to start the game. Coming back from London. It was a clinic. And Minnesota touchdown, the first 3 drives. They're up 21-3 at home. And the next thing you know, they're down 1 and needing a game-winning drive late. Cousins gave me some interesting quotes after the game, talking about Kevin O'Connell's new system. Quote, "I'm not where I was at the end of last season in that old system. But we're developing it, and we're getting there. I'm excited about that continued growth." O'Connell. Don't necessarily think we found that 4 quarters of consistent ball that we're looking for, but as we've learned, it's not easy to do in the NFL. Minnesota 3-0 against the divisional rivals at home already this season, and they've trailed with less than 5 minutes left in 3 straight games and won all 3. They beat Detroit at the end, they beat New Orleans at the end, and then again yesterday against Chicago. So it's a team that's stealing games at the end and finding ways. Those aren't necessarily the teams I'm always looking to lay points with, especially against a Miami team that, maybe a little bit hungry here. But that being said, if it's Thompson and Reed Sinnett as his backup, maybe this line is short because when you get down to the third-string NFL quarterbacks, they're not NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's such a tough handicap, and it's such a big part of the handicap, with the third-string quarterback, because you're right. It's almost like he's so up against it, being the third-string quarterback out of Kansas State, being thrown into the game literally on the second drive after getting injured in the end zone, talking about Bridgewater, kind of a questionable call. But now he gets a whole week of practice. I would actually look for him to be to perform a little bit better, but it's always a tough handicap, man. What are we going off of here? 68% completion percentage in the Big 12. How does that translate to the NFL? You know what I mean? It's just a very difficult handicap for me, Teddy.
Yeah, look, if you've been betting on backup quarterbacks or third-string quarterbacks in the NFL this year, you've done nothing but make money. So, yeah. Flat out, if you've been betting on teams with key injuries, all right. Oh, this team's banged up. They're on their 5th string off the tackle. You've done nothing but make money in the NFL this year. If you've been on team, so the injuries, the banged up teams have been fine straight up and ATS. The quarterback injuries, teams with the quarterback injuries have a strong winning record ATS through the first 5 weeks of the season. We're not going to overreact to quarterback injuries right now. That being said, between Tua and Skylar Thompson, is a pretty big drop-off in terms of what Miami's offense is capable of doing, especially now with that receiving core banged up with the Dolphins as well.
Great point, Teddy. We got next game up, heading from Miami to Atlanta, 1 o'clock Eastern here. San Francisco 49ers, -6, -5.5 actually at most shops right now as the road favorite, 43 being the total. You talked a little bit here about the Atlanta Falcons at the top of the show here, Teddy. Does need to be noted. I mean, their straight up record, not that sexy, but against the spread, what the most profitable team in the NFL right now? Dirty Birds at home catching some points. What are we liking here, Teddy?
Yeah, so Atlanta's the only 5-0 ATS team coming this season. And frankly, we saw in week one that they were better than we thought they were, and they've continued to be better than we thought they were. And the thing that stood out about Atlanta, this is twice now, all right? They were down 20-3 in LA, and they kept fighting and came in through the back door. They were down 21-0 in Tampa. They kept fighting and came through the back door. They were outgained 297-89 in the first half. And they remained committed to the run even after halftime. 31 attempts, 151 yards rushing. And again, were it not for a ridiculous call on Grady Jarrett, they might well have won that ball game. Atlanta's not a team. And are you convinced the markets have caught up with Atlanta? I'm not.
No,
look headline
really.
6.5, 43. My powering number 4.5. The market's 6 and 42.5. It is worth noting when we talk about San Fran, and not an easy team to step in front of, especially on this 2-game East Coast strip. All right, that they've done this 4 previous times in the Kyle Shanahan era. Okay, where they, rather than come back home, they stay back east. This year they're going to be at the Greenbrier in West Virginia, where they were same place they were at last year. So they've done this 4 times Shanahan era. The second game, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, most of them blowouts. And it's worth noting, after they won that second game and spending a week away from their families at home, all 4 times they lost their first game back at home. Something to think about for next week. But San Fran has been really good in this role. It is worth noting, though, the defense has been dynamite. Offense still has some issues. Jimmy G much better with the lead than from behind, although Atlanta, they don't play a whole lot of games with a lead.
Great stat, Teddy. NFL opening line report here. Teddy, that was 4-0 both straight up and against the spread when they stay east like that?
Yes, and then 0-4 when they return home the next week.
Ooh, what a stat. Love it, Teddy. Definitely going to use that, but up against the Falcons here. Kind of cross currents in the betting markets, guys, with the Falcons being 5-0 against the spread. A lot to kind of digest there, but still. Heck of a stat, Teddy. We got 4 o'clock kicks now, 1 o'clock Pacific for the rest of the way. We're on the afternoon slate now. Carolina Panthers, LA Rams, Teddy. We're seeing the Rams -10 in the hook. Couple 11s starting to pop up. 41 being the total. Panthers at Rams, Teddy covers.
Yep, let's get that emergency betting alert going for this one. It is moving as we speak. Rams and the Panthers. Look ahead line. LA -9.5, total of 42. My powering number is 10. The markets last night anywhere from 9, 9.5, 10, total 41.5, 42. And then this morning it was announced that Baker Mayfield doesn't look like he's going to play. Sam Darnold not yet ready to play. That probably means PJ Walker. And Matt Rule obviously gets fired this morning. Now, we've seen certainly in the college ranks when the guy gets fired, every team's been a monster ATS since. The players take it personally. We saw Wisconsin do it this past week against Northwestern. So maybe it is a step-up spot for Carolina. But, I mean, what do you do with the every game, the defense is giving them a chance. They blocked the field goal yesterday. The special teams is trying, but the offense has been a disaster. They're dead last in the NFL in third down conversion rate. They went 3 of 15 yesterday. The last team, by the way, the last team to convert at their range on third downs, how bad it's been, the 2005 49ers, who went 4 and 12. That's where Carolina's offense is. They just can't get anything with the passing game. And it's not going to change here against a Rams team that's hungry. And Ralph Michaels came on and gave us a great stat looking at on Wager Talk today last week, and he tweeted it out as well, talking about the one time you want the teams before the bye. You want them as home chalk, particularly coming off a loss. That's the long-term, very profitable situation. The Rams have a team here they might be able to smack. They've got the bye coming up next. The market's already adjusting to LA right now. Nothing but Rams money in early betting action, even despite the firing of the head coach for Carolina. It's worth noting, again, the Panthers defense has been great. And the Rams offense, 5 games, they've had 5 different starting offensive line combinations. We're talking about a team whose offense just isn't working right now. They scored 1 touchdown in their last 9 quarters. Matt Stafford has been sacked 21 times already this year. The Cowboys had 11 QB hits yesterday. Carolina's defense is all right. I expect the under to get hit here, too. We've already seen some under money. We may well see more.
Possible PJ Walker sighting. Marcelo saying he likes PJ Walker in this spot, actually. Shout out to the chat box right now. I don't know. The old Temple Owl, some time in the XFL. Yeah.
I've watched Walker at the NFL level in the preseason. I've watched him in the regular season. He's not an NFL quarterback. Their offense will only be dink and dunk, and they'll be able to creep the safeties up. And against a team like LA, that's likely to be problematic. And again, I don't know the Rams are going to score anything, but PJ Walker, to expect PJ Walker to take Carolina's offense and do something that Baker Mayfield couldn't do with it, or any other quarterback that Matt Rule. I mean, Rule got screwed when it came to QBs. He walked into a bad situation, and 3 years in a row, he had one of the, if not the worst starter, and none of them stayed healthy. I don't think Matt Rule can't coach, but when you walk into a situation with no quarterback and you don't fix it, it's on the GM, not the coach, but GM gets to fire the coach and save his own job.
And I don't know if he got screwed too bad, Teddy. I just read it, $40 million as the door hits him on the way
He'll
out.
be okay. Exactly.
Oh
you buy me out for $40 million, you'll never see me again, dude. I know thing. Buy me out. Someone else could do a opening line report, no problem.
He's probably leaving with a smile on his face. $40 million to be fired. Wow, what an industry we're in here with NFL head coaches. We got 269-270 up next. 4:00 Eastern, 1:00 Pacific. Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks. Cardinals -3, pretty much across the board. Actually, a couple -2.5s out there as the road favorite here, Teddy. 51.5 being the total. Cardinals at Seahawks.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting game in terms of where it's been bet this morning. I'll talk about it in a minute, but that's why we're not emergency betting alerted, because it's gone both ways this morning, and I'm not sure which way the markets are moving. Arizona, the look headline, -2.5, total of 47. My powering number is Arizona -2.5, and the markets opened 2.5. Everything got bet up to 3, and then now we're seeing some buyback on the Seattle +3 side. So we have seen two-way action on this ball game. It's one of those games I don't know where it's going to end up. So I don't want to tell you, grab this side, grab that side. The truth of it is, if you like Seattle, find a +3 right now. If you like Arizona, find a -2.5 right now. Both are widely available. And I don't know where it's going to end up. There are some big concerns about Seattle defensively. Really big concerns in that ball game, because New Orleans didn't have their top 3 receivers. Seattle knew there was going to be no downfield passing game. Pete Carroll. We knew their offense was going to be built around Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill, and they ran it down our throat, and that's unacceptable. Again, they gave up 45 points in the win over Detroit, and they allowed both Hill and Kamara to get over 100 rushing yards yesterday. And there was no mystery as to where they were going to go with the football. And the Saints, without their starting quarterback, without their top 3 receivers, it's a concerning defensive effort for a concerning defensive team. That said, we have to start thinking about Seattle a little differently, okay? And this stood out to me yesterday for sure. When you're watching Russell Wilson repeatedly struggle, and you're watching Geno Smith 7 years as a backup, playing better than Russell Wilson did last year with that team, and we all downgraded Seattle. Oh, Geno Smith can't play. Russell Wilson. Right now, Geno's better than Russell Wilson. He's better than Russell Wilson was last year. This offense is better than it was last year with Geno as opposed to Russell. So even though I've got all kinds of concerns about this Seahawks defense, I still keep upping them in my power ratings because they're not bottom feeders. They're not. And a team that had a 6-quarter scoreless stretch earlier in the season still has that fact. Only after week 5, only 5 weeks have been played. So that one stretch where the offense was really sluggish is still affecting their overall numbers. Seattle, in general, for me, is an undervalued commodity, even though I'm concerned about their defense, really concerned about their defense. And it may not last long. That being said, I mean, the Cardinals, another slow start yesterday. Another desperation from Kingsbury yesterday, you know, when they're doing a fake punt from their own 30 down 7 inside 2 minutes for a half, and it worked. But that's desperation. And then with Kyler Murray's brain fart, and did he get the first down and sliding a little bit too early and then spiking the football on 3rd down, and they had no timeouts and finding a way to lose the game. Arizona's done a fair bit of that this season. Kyler Murray's quote, a positive one. We got a lot of season left. We got a great team, a great locker room. I'm confident in everyone in that locker room. We've got to get it together right now. We're not playing complimentary football. Worth noting, Arizona's lost their last 8 or 9 home games on the road. They've been a whole lot better, including perfect straight up and against the spread so far this season.
Yeah, stayed within the number. Love the stat, Teddy, or the comparison. Geno Smith and Russell Wilson there. We're seeing Abby Jackson in the chat box saying Geno Smith got to be a candidate for most improved player of the season. Thanks for joining us live, Abby. Absolutely in that running. Also needs to be noted here, this total, Teddy, getting steamed to the over. I think it has something to do with what you were talking about. Seahawks offensively, open 47, 51.5, as high as 52 totals wise. So the two highest totals is Arizona, Seattle, and the next game we're talking in rotation order, 271, 272, 425 Eastern kick, Buffalo and Kansas City, Teddy. We're seeing the Bills minus 2-point road favorites, 53.5 being the total here, Teddy.
So I track 5 different books when I call the opener and whatever the line open. I'm using 5 books. And I'm looking for the line on Sunday night after the games were played. That 47 that was out there, and there were a handful of 47s out there. Those were look-ahead line openers last night. Okay. This line was Arizona-Seattle was 51, and now we're seeing 51.5, 52s. We are seeing over money, but most of that move came before the lines came out on Sunday night. It came via the look-aheads. When it comes to Buffalo, and where were we at? Buffalo, KC here?
Yeah, Buffalo, 271, 272. Good matchup.
Sure. Look ahead line. Pick 'em, 53.5. My powering number, Bills -1. And the markets, Bills -2, 53.5. Despite the fact that KC hasn't played yet. If the Chiefs look good tonight, we'll probably see some Kansas City money. If the Chiefs look bad tonight, we'll probably see more Buffalo money. But I mean, the Bills, they have all kinds of injuries right now. The secondary is all banged up. Von Miller limped off. Injuries at wide receiver, that's a problematic. And yet none of it has mattered at all. They gained 10.2 yards per play in a game where the second half was all garbage time. That's hard to do. They're still banged up. They still can't run the football that well. They have the fewest punts in the league this season. That's been a pretty impressive offense. Certainly everyone's going to remember what happened in the AFC Championship game where you had the wild 4 scores inside the last 2 minutes in a game that flew up and over the total. Look at these two teams' defensive numbers before you try to bet this one over. Both teams better than expected defensively from a yards per play standpoint. I'm talking about 2 top 10 defenses right now. So should be a fun one. I don't think it gets to 3. I do expect that tonight's game to have some effect on this point spread, but not a dramatic effect. Buffalo is the hottest team in the markets, and deservedly so. They've been outstanding so far this season.
Guys, we got the Sunday nighter and Monday nighter. Then we are going to go back to the top of the board with the 2 we missed with the technical difficulty. But make sure to check out Teddy Covers, Wager Talk, and SportsMemo.com. Since February, 230 and 176. That's 57% for a plus 150% ROI in the NFL. He's 13-7, 65% since week 1, and the 5% big ticket plays, 17-7, 71% last 24 in bounce back mode off of a loss this weekend. So maybe a good time to jump on board. Teddy Covers, Wager Talk, SportsMemo.com. We got the Sunday nighter here, Teddy. Good one in the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. We're seeing the Eagles minus 5-point home favorites. 42.5 being the total. Thinking our producer Dan Alexander will be flying high, a couple cocktails in hand at the game. Fun one to be at. Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, Teddy.
Look headline, Philly minus 5.5, bet up to -6. Total 41.5 on the look ahead. My powering number, Philly -5. The markets were 5.5, 6 last night, 43.5. We've seen under money down to 42/42.5. We've seen a little bit of Dallas money as a result. I don't blame the Dallas money. I mean, Dallas has been the undervalued commodity in the NFL since Dak Prescott got hurt. Their defense has been absolutely dominant. They've allowed exactly 1 touchdown in 5 straight games. They're playing for a piece of the division title or a piece of the division lead. And they were able to survive. Cooper Rush wasn't good last night. Didn't matter. The defense for Dallas is good enough to win games. And that's a problem for Philly right now. You want to talk about a team with some injury concerns. Travis Kelce got hurt. Huge injury. Jason Kelce, the center, got hurt. The left guard, Landon Dickerson, got hurt. The left tackle, Jordan Mailata, is hurt. The right guard, Isaac Seumalo, is limited with an ankle injury. That's a problem against the Cowboys defense. Now, Philly has more offensive line depth than just about any team in the NFL. When you talk about potential 4 starters being out, it's a problem against an elite defense. That said, Philly is in that home team before the bye situation that has been so profitable for the last decade. And of course, they've got a chance to take control of the division coming off a game they didn't play particularly well against Arizona. Found a way to steal it. Dallas continues to play out of their minds. And again, this number, I was debating as to what my powering number for the Cowboys really should be. I bumped it up a little bit. Maybe we should bump it up higher. Dallas certainly has overachieved their expectations by wide margins in recent weeks. And it hasn't come and gone. It's lasted for Dallas. Maybe we start to fade him when Dak Prescott comes back.
Teddy, we got the Monday Nighter here before we turn it over to the top of the card. Denver Broncos, LA Chargers. Chargers, -6? Some -5.5s out there, even as low watermark of -5 right now on the Wager Talk odds screen. 46 being the total. Broncos at Chargers Monday night, Teddy.
Yeah, look headline 5.5/6, 5.5 bet up to 6, total 46.5. My powering number only 4.5 on this ballgame, and certainly the Chargers, after snatching victory from the jaws of defeat yesterday. Again, when Staley goes for it on 4th down, fails, the Browns are right there to win the game, and then they miss the field goal. Yeah, the Chargers get to celebrate in their locker room. But are you confident in this team? I'm not confident in this team right now. And look, their defense has been gashed. The Jaguars gashed them. Oops, now we got to look at that a little different, don't we? The Jags haven't done anything since. They got gashed yesterday. It was a game with 908 total yards and 53 first downs, and there were only 3 punts all in the first half. Defensively, the Chargers are not a team I'm comfortable laying a price with, by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, the Vultures are already circling Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. You have Russell Wilson with the partially torn lat and a $245 million contract extension that looks like the worst contract in football right about now. They're saying he's not going to need surgery on the shoulder. He's expected to be ready to play in this ball game. He got an injection in the shoulder with the hope that between the injection and the game, he's going to feel and play better. Wilson, it's very simple. At the end of the day, I got to be better. I got to play better. I let the team down tonight. One thing I know about myself is I'm going to respond. It is worth noting more injuries for Denver. They lose the cornerback Ronald Darby out for the year. The offensive lineman Bowles out for the year. Linebacker Browning got hurt. Josie Jewell got hurt as a linebacker. Draymond Jones got hurt. This is a really banged up team on both sides of the football right now. But I know I can't lay with the Chargers team that can't get stopped. So it'd be Broncos or pass, despite all the concerns for this bet.
Teddy, when we started the show, we had a little bit of a tech difficulty here. So the Thursday nighter, Washington and Chicago, actually didn't make the live stream. So if we could hit it for the people watching live and anybody watching before Thursday, we got you covered here. Washington at Chicago, Teddy, 38.5, low total here. Pick'em -1. That's the Bears at home. Thursday night NFL opening line report style. Anything here, Teddy, in Soldier Field?
Well, if we're going to redo the top of the show, I got to talk about what happened at what happened this week. Look, I got my ass kicked in college football back-to-back weeks. It's been ugly. And I lost my big ticket in the NFL this week, which is ugly. But man, the vitriol, dude. I went 3-4 in the NFL the last couple of weeks. I haven't get destroyed. I'm still 13-7 my last 20 in the NFL. The big tickets are still 17. What is it, 17-7 or 17-8 with the last 24, and I'm still above 70% over the last year and a half. So I get it. It's not been a great run to start October, but dude, just so you know out there, if you buy my plays, there's going to be 2-week stretches that I go 3-4 and lose a big ticket. Okay, I don't panic. It's not a nightmare scenario. Okay, it's going to happen. You don't win every week. That said, off a losing week, you better come back and work hard. That's what we're looking to do this week. Of course, the college football, again, that's been ugly. We'll see if we can bounce back strong. But when it comes to Thursday night football, Washington and Chicago, look-ahead line here was pick 'em. There were some Commanders -1 out there. And the Commanders have been a popular wise guy team of late. They took money again this week against Tennessee. The wise guys were all over them in that ballgame, which I can understand when you want to fade the Titans, but Houston's had their issue, or Washington's had their issues. My powering number has Chicago -1.5. Last night there were pick'ems, there were Washington -1, there were Chicago -1s, and basically today we're not seeing the Washington -1 anymore. It's either -1 for Chicago or pick'em out there. It's a split line right now. Total has been bet down. There were 40s at the opener. There were 39.5s this morning. Now we're looking at 38.5/38. And you can understand why the money's come in on the under. Certainly, we're talking about, again, if you watched last Thursday night, you saw offensive football get set back about 20 years with the level of play there. So bettors kind of expecting an ugly offensive gain, and neither of these two teams isn't necessarily clicking on the offensive side of the football. That said, the Bears' defense has been pretty rough, gashed against the ground, and they were able to rally. Look, they were down 21-3 on the road and rally to take a lead in that ballgame. Justin Fields played really well. Quote, I think we took a step forward for sure. A lot of teams in this league would have just laid down and stopped playing. But the Bears actually have to win a game here, make a play in the fourth quarter. And defensively, they've had a lot of problems. Of course, Wentz has his fair share of problems. Wentz tried to throw a pick on first down and goal. He tried to throw a pick on second and goal and finally got it on third and goal and gave the game away in that game. Quote, guy made a heck of a play. I just tried to squeeze it in there. I thought we had 6 points when it left my hand. And then the result, that was unfortunate. Wentz is saying the right things. We've dug a hole. At the same time, there's a lot of games left, a lot of football. We just got to go 1-0 each week. We did it to ourselves. We try not to look at what happened the last couple games and what's ahead. So, I mean, these are two fairly evenly matched teams. Whoever makes the fewest mistakes likely to win. I do not expect to be involved in Thursday night football, and this might be one of the lower handle Thursday night games between two teams that nobody is excited about laying points with.
Yeah, Arthur in the chat box saying, who the heck scheduled this as a primetime game? I don't know, Arthur, how they do that, but Amazon will be running with it Thursday.
So Thursday night games, every team plays a Thursday night game. Exactly one. There's 32 teams. There are 16 Thursday night games, and literally every team plays one and only one game on a Thursday, with the exception of the Thanksgiving teams. I think they get an extra. But how they pick this one versus another one, every team is going to get one shot. And this is probably the only – I haven't looked at the schedules, but no, we'll see the Bears and Washington both on national TV. Sometimes it's the only national TV games these teams get all year.
Interesting. Nice take there, Teddy. And guys, I got to second what Teddy said about the bounce back mode here. Rough weekend for me as well on the Utes on Saturday, taking the loss. But hopefully, Teddy, like you, in bounce back here for this week. It makes you kind of search for that winner a little bit more after a weekend like that. So hopefully people out there finding more winners than losers.
It's really important not to panic, okay? Even if your bankroll's half of what it was. If you panic, your bankroll will be nothing, okay? Inevitably. Take a breath, come back, do your work. That's what we do. It's not this is not a straight, I was up close to more than 200% ROI for the clients, and now it's more like 150 since February. Okay, I get it. There's going to be a correction. You're not going to win every game forever, but you don't panic off a loss. You don't change up your approaches off a bad weekend or two, unless you see something fundamentally wrong with what you're trying to accomplish and what you're doing. Stay the course. It'll be okay.
Huge shout out to the over
That's it.
450 people watching live here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, going live
Sweet.
each and every Monday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Drew Martin, Teddy covers, at Teddy_covers, at Drew Martin Bets. Please smash that like button. Feel free to reply below where you agree, where you disagree. Best bets, all is welcome here. Guys, throw out any questions. Next week, we'll have a little bit more time with the buys as well. So we'll answer some at the end of the show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please smash that like button. For Teddy, I'm Drew. We'll talk next week.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.